You are about to spend anywhere from $1,000 to $7,000 on an inverter, and if you pick the wrong type, you will either waste a ton of money on features you never need, or you will build a system that cannot do the one thing you actually bought it to do. I have watched people blow their entire solar budget on a hybrid inverter they did not need, and I have watched others go full off-grid and realize 6 months later that their setup cannot handle a grid outage the way they expected. Both mistakes are expensive. Both are avoidable. Today, we are going to settle this debate properly. Off-grid inverter versus hybrid inverter, which one actually gives you more value for your dollar in 2026? I am going to break down exactly what each one does, where each one wins, where each one loses, real 2026 pricing, the brand's worth your money, and the one question you absolutely must answer before you buy anything. Stay with me until the end, because the answer is almost never what people expect, and the section on pricing alone could save you thousands. If you are new here, subscribe right now and hit the bell, because every week we cover solar batteries and off-grid living with the kind of honest, numbers-based information that the sales floor will never give you. Drop a comment below and tell me where you are at right now. Are you still on grid, partially off, or completely cut off from utility? I want to know. Now, let us get into it. What an off-grid inverter actually is. Let us start with definitions, because this is where a lot of confusion begins. An off-grid inverter, also called a standalone inverter or a battery-based inverter, is a unit designed to run your home entirely from a battery bank with zero reliance on the utility grid. It takes the DC power stored in your batteries, converts it to AC power your appliances can use, and manages how your solar panels charge those batteries through a charge controller that is either built-in or wired separately. The key characteristic of a true off-grid inverter is that it has no grid interaction capability. It does not talk to the grid. It does not export to the grid. It does not pull from the grid during a shortage, when the sun goes down and the batteries drop below your set cutoff. You either have a generator wired in or the lights go out. That is it. The entire energy equation lives inside your own system. Because of this, off-grid inverters are typically built with extremely high surge capacity. You need that surge power to start motors, compressors, well pumps, and air conditioners. Transformerless inverter designs are often weaker here. True off-grid inverters built on transformer-based architecture, like the Victron Multi-Plus series or the Outback Radian, can push 2 to 3 times their continuous rated power for short burst starts. That robustness is one of the things you are paying for. Off-grid inverters are the default choice for remote cabins, rural homesteads without grid access, mobile setups like Scully buses and large vans, and any application where the utility line simply does not reach your location. If you are in that situation, you are not choosing between off-grid and hybrid. The grid does not exist. Off-grid wins by default. What a hybrid inverter actually is. A hybrid inverter is a completely different animal, even though it overlaps significantly with what an off-grid inverter does. In 2026, the term hybrid inverter has essentially come to mean an all-in-one unit that can manage solar panels, a battery bank, and the utility grid all at the same time and switch between them automatically based on your priorities. When solar is abundant, a hybrid charges the battery and powers your loads. When solar drops off, it pulls from the battery. When the battery hits a certain threshold, depending on your settings, it either starts drawing from the grid to protect the battery from going too deep, or it holds the battery in reserve for backup and takes everything from the grid. During a grid outage, it disconnects from the utility, instantly islands your home on battery power, and continues running. That last capability, the ability to island and provide backup power during an outage, is something a standard grid tie inverter cannot do. A basic grid tie inverter shuts down the moment the grid goes down by law, because you cannot feed power back into downed utility lines with workers on them. A hybrid inverter has a transfer switch built in that disconnects from the grid first, then runs your home on stored power. The best units on the market in 2026 make that transfer in under 20 milliseconds, which is fast enough that most of your sensitive electronics never notice the interruption. More than half of all new rooftop solar installations globally in 2026 now include a hybrid-ready configuration. The market has spoken clearly. The hybrid is the direction the industry is moving, and the pricing has come down significantly over the past 3 years to reflect that. Real 2026 pricing, the numbers you need. Here is where this gets very practical. Let us talk about what things actually cost right now. On the off-grid side, a purpose-built transformer-based off-grid inverter charger like the Victron Multi+2 48V5000 VA runs roughly $1,400 to $1,800 depending on your supplier. The Victron Quattro series, which adds a second AC input for a generator, runs from around $1,600 for smaller models up to $3,000 and beyond for larger configurations. Outback Radian units run $2,500 to $4,000. These are serious, long-lasting, extremely well-built machines that can last 15 years or more with proper installation. Their surge capacity is excellent. Their support ecosystems are mature. On the hybrid side, the price range is massive and the value in the middle is genuinely impressive in 2026. The Growatt SPF 6000 ES is sitting at around $1,200 for a 6 kilowatt split-phase hybrid. The EG4 6000 XP comes in at about $1,500, gives you 6 kilowatts continuous, dual MPPT, a 500-volt PV input, and a 10-year warranty from Signature Solar. That 10-year warranty at that price point is remarkable and worth paying attention to. Step up from there and the EG4 18kPV delivers 18 kilowatts of continuous power for around $3,500. The Sol-Ark 15K sits at roughly $7,000, but comes with American-based support, a polished monitoring platform, and a level of firmware stability that the budget brands are still working toward. The honest takeaway on pricing is this. For the same dollar amount, a hybrid inverter in 2026 almost always gives you more capability on paper than a dedicated off-grid inverter. You get solar management, battery management, and grid interaction in one box at a price that would have seemed impossible 3 years ago. The trade-off is surge capacity. A hybrid inverter, especially a transformerless design, will typically surge to 1.5 to 2 times its continuous rating. A good transformer-based off-grid inverter can surge to 2.5 to 3 times or more. If you are starting motors and running heavy loads that pull hard on startup, that difference matters. Where off-grid wins outright. There are specific scenarios where the off-grid inverter is not just good, it is the only sensible choice. The first scenario is full remoteness. If you are building a homestead, a cabin, a bunker, or any structure more than about a mile from a nearest utility connection, the cost of running power lines makes grid connection irrelevant. You are going off-grid by necessity, and your entire system design should optimize for that reality. A hybrid inverter's grid interaction features are dead weight in this situation. The second scenario is maximum surge demand. If you are running a well pump, a large air compressor, a grain grinder, or other heavy motor start loads on your system, the transformer-based off-grid inverter handles those startup surges more cleanly and more reliably than most hybrid alternatives. The Victron Multi+ and Quattro series are specifically engineered for these applications. The third scenario is total energy independence as a non-negotiable principle. Some people are not optimizing for cost. They are optimizing for zero utility dependency, whether for personal, philosophical, or security reasons. If that is you, a hybrid system's grid connection is a liability, not an asset. The off-grid approach matches your values and your threat model perfectly. Where hybrid wins outright. There are scenarios where the hybrid inverter delivers so much more practical value that choosing a dedicated off-grid setup would be leaving serious money on the table. Scenario 1 is grid-connected homes that want backup and solar. If your home has a utility connection, a hybrid inverter lets you use solar during the day, store excess in batteries, draw from storage in the evening, and fall back to the grid only when truly needed. During outages, the hybrid islands your home automatically, This is the most financially intelligent solar setup for most suburban and semi-rural homeowners in 2026. A pure off-grid inverter in this situation would mean giving up the grid as a backup entirely, requiring a much larger and more expensive battery bank to cover every cloudy week. Scenario 2 is time of use rate optimization. If your utility charges different rates at different times of day, a hybrid inverter with smart energy management software can charge batteries during cheap rate windows and discharge during expensive peak hours. This is a real, measurable savings on your monthly utility bill that a dedicated off-grid inverter simply cannot provide because it has no grid awareness. Scenario 3 is the budget-conscious DIY builder who has or expects to have grid access. At $1,200 to $1,500 for a quality hybrid inverter like the EG4 6000 XP or Growatt SPF 6000 ES, you are getting an all-in-one unit with MPPT charge control, battery management, grid backup, and solar integration for less than what a dedicated off-grid inverter charger plus a separate MPPT charge controller would cost you individually. The integrated design saves money on hardware and simplifies wiring. Scenario 4 is future-proofing. If you are on grid now, but planning to reduce grid dependency over time, a hybrid is the only inverter that grows with your situation. You can start with small battery storage, add panels, add more batteries, and gradually move toward near off-grid operation without swapping your core inverter hardware. The brand's worth your money in 2026. At the budget end of the hybrid market, the Growatt SPF 6000 ES at roughly $1,200 gets you a functioning 6 kilowatt unit, though you are accepting a single MPPT, a 5-year warranty, and a firmware history that has been less consistent than the competition. It works. It is not the best value per dollar at that price point. The EG4 6000 XP at around $1,500 is the consensus best overall hybrid inverter for DIY builders in 2026. Dual MPPT, a 10-year warranty, 500-volt PV input capacity, and a company in Signature Solar that has built a real support infrastructure around it. The monitoring software has improved substantially through 2025 and into 2026, though it still trails Sol-Ark in polish. The Sol-Ark 15K, at roughly $7,000, is the premium American choice. Sol-Ark is a US-based company that distributes a product built by Dye and customized heavily for the US market. The monitoring platform is genuinely excellent. Firmware updates are infrequent but stable. The 200 amp pass-through capability on the 15K means many installs do not need a sub-panel for whole home backup. Transfer time is 16 milliseconds. If you want the closest thing to a set-it-and-forget-it premium experience, this is it. On the dedicated off-grid side, Victron Energy continues to be the gold standard for reliability and ecosystem depth. Their Multi+2 and Quattro lines integrate with an enormous range of accessories, battery monitors, and management software through the Victron VRM platform. If you are building a serious long-term off-grid system, Victron's track record of 50 years in power electronics is not something you ignore. The one question that decides everything. After all of that, here is how to make the decision simply. Ask yourself one question. Will this system ever be in a location with reliable utility grid access? If the answer is no, you are off-grid by definition. Optimize for that. Get the inverter with the best surge capacity, the deepest integration with your battery bank, and the generator compatibility you need. Victron or Outback. Size your battery bank for 5 to 7 days of autonomy, minimum depending on your climate. If the answer is yes, even if you plan to minimize grid use, a hybrid inverter almost certainly gives you more value per dollar. It reduces your required battery bank size because the grid covers you during prolonged low solar periods. It enables time-of-use rate savings. It provides seamless outage backup without forcing you to size everything for worst-case autonomy. And in 2026, the price point for a quality hybrid inverter makes this choice genuinely accessible. There is one more thing worth saying out loud. A number of the most popular hybrid inverters in 2026, including the EG4 6000 XP, and the Sol-Ark 15K can also be configured for off-grid operation with no grid connection. They are genuinely multi-mode units. This means in practice, the line between hybrid and off-grid has blurred considerably. The real question is not the label on the box. The question is what your site, your loads, and your long-term goals actually demand. The honest bottom line: the hybrid inverter wins on value for the dollar for the majority of people watching this video. If you have or expect to have grid access, the flexibility, the grid backup capability, the time of use optimization, and the reduced battery bank requirements make a modern hybrid inverter like the EG4 6000XP or Sol-Ark 15K a smarter financial choice than a dedicated off-grid unit in most scenarios in 2026. The off-grid inverter wins when the grid is not in the picture at all, when surge demands are extreme, or when total independence from the utility is the mission. In those cases, it is not even close. Get a Victron, wire it right, build your battery bank to cover your real load, and then some. The costly mistake is buying either type without clarity on your site conditions, your loads, and your goals first. This video should have given you that clarity. The numbers are real. The recommendations are honest. Now you know what you are buying and why. If this helped you, give it a like so the algorithm shows it to someone else who is about to make a $3,000 mistake. Subscribe for more of this every week. And leave me a comment telling me which direction you are leaning, off-grid, hybrid, or still deciding. I want to keep this conversation going.